Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Power Talk Show powered by Business Talks Weekly. Our guest today is the founder of Keybot. He founded 10 years ago for business owners to make their transactions. And today he has founded Platypus OS, which is very similar to an AI assistant like Jarvis for everyone. I would like you to welcome founder and CEO Matthew White. Matthew, welcome to the Power Talk Show.
Thanks so much. Pleasure to be here. Appreciate it.
Standing. What is an AI assistant do?
Yeah, so the concept of an AI assistant is really to kind of take the workload off of the users that we work with, right? So our idea was with our Keybot time when we built Keybots, the idea there was to make software a lot more simple for people to be able to access and use and be able to utilize for their business. And then once AI started to really kind of become as strong and powerful as it was, we were like, okay, we could probably take this a step further. And instead of people having to use the software, like sit at their computer and, type away all day long, we could use AI to kind of help you prompt and utilize these technologies in a much more efficient way. So instead of sitting at your computer at the end of the day and saying, okay, I need to move this specific user or this specific customer from prospecting into contracting in my CRM and then send them an invoice, things like that. You can now do that via AI prompts. We connect into, I think it's like 1,500 different applications. So you can now manage all those apps. You can create workflows, you can create automations via AI instead of just sitting at your computer and working with these different products. And we found, especially like small and medium-sized business owners, we found that being able to use AI instead of having to sit at their computer, it saves them a lot of time, a lot of money. They can, not have to hire assistants to actually run their business for them. They can have AI do those types of things. So that's kind of the concept behind it, is giving them an actual personal assistant that can work on their behalf. And that's much cheaper and much more efficient than really kind of what's out there on the market today. And it works really interestingly well.
That's wonderful, Matthew. Matthew, you gave an analogy of a CRM workflow. So are you actually focused on CRM and ERP modules, or are you expanding to different horizons?
Yeah, it's pretty broad at this point. So we've got, like I said, we have about 1,500 applications, anything from HR tools to CRMs and ERPs. We've got, customer success and support systems in there. So really, it kind of broadens out to any kind of assistant that you need. And the cool thing about how we've developed this is you can build different assistants, right? So I can build in the PlatypusOS platform, I could build an assistant that's really focused on sales. And I can build one that's focused on marketing that will like help me with my SEO or my ad management. And then I can build one that just works on customer success and support and answer questions that support, people might have. So it's pretty broad. The AI is actually really functional at being able to kind of work across a broad scope of different tools and systems. And you can customize, again, the assistants that you create. So you can have multiple assistants on our platform, really focused and trained on what it is that you need it to do. So it's pretty neat that you can kind of start to build a whole team almost around all the different functions you need in your business using kind of AI assistants to do that.
Wow, that's really wonderful. I recently came across a platform. Have you ever heard about Base 44?
Base 44?
Yeah. So
Not
how
familiar.
Base 44 actually works is it helps you build your own application. It is an AI platform and you give them the prompts and it
Okay.
helps you build their own application. Do you see like there would be an future where Platypus also allows you to build their own apps and integrate with certain apps?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that it can do is help you code, right? So it can help you code out any kind of different platforms or tools that you need, which is exciting, right? So it allows. I think the cool thing about AI is it allows people to build in ways they weren't able to build before. The engineering side of AI is pretty strong these days, and allowing you to just go and say, I want an application that does this, this, and this, build it for me. And then you go and do little tweaks and things like that. It really kind of is, it's opening up a world where people that don't know how to code can actually build things pretty easily. It's one of the cool things that we've built into this as well, is we can build AI agents that can build like workflows and different structures. And that's completely no code as well. So people can come in and build agents that will build, automations for people and then work it right through. I think that the future is going to become a lot more kind of agent AI driven rather than even like SaaS. I could see a future where websites and front end isn't even really necessary all that much, and you'll be able to use AI to kind of prompt and build and do most of the work that you need to do, which is kind of an interesting future
Yeah.
for how we all operate.
Absolutely, Matthew. What challenges did you went through while building this platform?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, we've had challenges. So again, I built Keybot before we built PlatypusOS, and there's as an entrepreneur, there's just going to be challenges constantly, right? One of the things that we found is with Keybot when we were building that, I think we iterated and transitioned what we were doing 3 or 4 times in the early days to figure out exactly what our product market fit was, how to get this into the right people, where we need to be marketing, where we need to be selling to, and I think that's I think the hardest part that any entrepreneur needs to kind of realize about building a business is, you need to understand that your initial ideas of how things are going to work typically aren't going to be how they work, right? And so you need to be able to be in a mindset where you can grow and say, hey, look, I had this idea. It's not exactly what I thought it was going to be, but being able to just transition and say, hey, look, I'm open to new ideas. I'm no open to changing my entire mindset on how things work. It's probably one of the strongest things people need to take into building a company, building anything, entrepreneurship. And I think that was one of the struggles that I kind of focused on the most in the early days is thinking to myself, oh, I've got this idea. I think people are going to love it and need it. I'm going to build it and people are going to just buy it. And you got to be open to change. And I think that was a struggle that I dealt with a lot when I started the company and something that I still do sometimes. But it can be hard sometimes when you build your baby and it's not what people are looking for.
Absolutely. Matthew, you are speaking from a founder's perspective. But from a user perspective, if I see there's so many AI platforms offering different subscriptions, different payment plans, how does a user like me actually finalize and select what do I need and where do I put my money in?
Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part any executive has in their job is making sure you're buying and you're using the right technology, the right software. One of the things we did with Keybot was we spent a lot of time. So like Keybot is like a SaaS marketplace, and we spent a lot of time. Anytime we integrated new tools into our platform, we tested a whole bunch of different applications to see which ones were probably the best user experience and had the best price points and things like that. I think one of the big things, most of these tools, they'll have like free models, right? Go use the free model, but test out a couple different platforms, see what each has and how it can, work for you. Listen to sales calls. Now, I know sales calls are always going to be pitching what's best for them. And so you have to kind of get out of your mind a little bit with that. But try things out. I think the best way to understand what's going to be right for your business is to test things, play with them a little bit, see what is the best for your model. Like there's 100 CRMs out there, right? You got to figure out which one is going to be the best for exactly what you're doing. Go sign up for free accounts, play with it a little bit, see what makes the most sense for your business. Talk to people. I think referrals is a great way to understand if a tool is going to work well for you. So, somebody who's in your industry and is using a specific tool, talk to them. Hey, what do you like about this? What do you not like about this? And try to understand what's going to be the best for you. And just make sure you're comfortable with whatever tool you're using. Because like you said, there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of AI coming out right now. And I think the best way is just to play around a little bit. I think that's the fun of software. I think that's the fun of technology is you can get in there, you can play around with it and see what's going to make the most sense for you and then make your decisions from there. And then when you make your decision, lean in, understand it, and, optimize as much as you can.
Absolutely. Matthew, as I mentioned, there are so many platforms coming in and there are AI agents, AI assistants. Who do you look like is a competition to you?
Yeah, I would say right now, the two that are probably the biggest right now is Perplexity has their AI browser out, and so does OpenAI. Those ones are good. I think one of the big differences that we're looking at right now is they're really good at being kind of a personal assistant. So they can, book a flight, they can edit an email, they can do things like that. They're doing a lot of kind of the stuff that we're doing. I think our focus is a lot more on kind of the business side. So where in their systems they work on the front end, so you have to have your web page open and they can work down the line and make sure things are happening for you. We do it API driven. So in our system and connect into these 1,500 different applications, you don't have to have like a browser window or a browser tab open with that tool. You can actually just do it from anywhere. You can prompt, hey, I want my CRM to do this, this, and this. And it can do that without you having to actually open up your CRM, log into it, and then allow the AI to kind of work through that process. So there's pretty big differences there. I think, again, our focus more on the API side allows for a lot more functionality. We've tried using front end stuff for our AI. And there's some sticking points that can happen. AI can only do so much on a front end when it comes to things that aren't rendered on a page, et cetera. And so that's why we leaned in heavily to the API side. And I think our model makes a lot more sense for kind of heavy workers, for people that want to get stuff done inside of their applications a lot more effectively. That's kind of
Yeah,
our
makes sense.
differentiator a little bit, I
Yeah,
think.
makes sense. Matthew, I might be wrong here, but I just want to understand. Companies like Salesforce, Freshworks, even they are working on their own AI assistant. And, Salesforce has their AI Einstein, Freshworks has their own AI. Do you look at them as a competitor to your platform?
Yes and no. So the difference between them and how we operate, right, is like with their systems, their AI only works in their technology stack, right? So you can have Einstein set up for Salesforce, but you're not gonna be able to use it across other applications. The beauty of what we've created is I can go and say, hey, I want you to in Recurly, which is our billing management system, right? I want you to pull all of the past due accounts, and I want you to send me a Slack message of, all the first name, last name, and email addresses of the Slack accounts. And then I want you to take that and create a very, customized message in my my Gmail, let's say, and send them an email saying, hey, you're past due. Here's how many days past due. Here's all of it. So our structure works across a lot of tools. You can build workflows between different tools a lot more efficiently. I would compare us more to like a Zapier almost than like the AI that's been driven through one specific tool. Because again, when applications build AI into their tools, it's very specific to their tool. And our AI can do anything you need across pretty much any application and then across multiple applications. So you can have it work across 6 different applications if you need to, which I think is why a more kind of centralized AI makes a lot more sense than application specific AIs. So I wouldn't say they're competitors, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree to you, Matthew. Matthew, what is your vision in the next 5 years? Where are you heading?
Yeah, I mean, so what we would like to see is, the dream for us was kind of the ability to get rid of the need for use of like front end UIs. I think the future of software as a whole is going to be much more like AI prompt based, using assistants and agents to do the workload for you. I think that in the next 5 years, we're going to see, honestly, one of the things I was kind of talking to some people about, a couple days ago was I think that the idea of websites is going to change dramatically. I think in the future, websites are going to be much more like you go to even like a plumber's website, and instead of it being like just this presentation of what we do, how we operate, it's going to be more like a chat. You're going to get in there, and it's going to be like, hey, what can I've got a problem with my toilet right now, and it's flooded everywhere. How do I fix this? And I'll be like, oh, we can schedule somebody to come out and help you. Here's kind of what the cost structure would be, all that kind of stuff. I think the future that I see is much more us. You remember like the show Star Trek, The Next Generation, where they're like, computer, do this for me, computer, do that for me. I think that is the future that we're really moving into, is not us sitting in front of computers and, typing out work all day long, but us being able to access an assistant that can do the mundane menial work for us without us having to sit there and, operate on a computer day in and day out, which I think is going to save a lot of people a lot of time and allow people to be out there doing the things they love and the jobs that make them money more than having to sit at a computer and update records, which I think is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Matthew, I want to talk to you about yourself. You have been a serial entrepreneur, you founded 2 companies. What is your biggest lesson so far?
I think my biggest lesson is listen to your customers, especially your first customers, right? One of the things that we prided ourselves in with Keybot specifically and with the new companies is making sure that those first users that get into your platform, number one, understand how to use it and really talk to them about what they don't understand, how we could be building better. What do they need, right? So a lot of the tools that we built into Keybot were us going to our users, our initial users, and saying, hey, what other tools do you want? Do you want to manage, your social media through a specific platform? Do you want, are you doing email marketing? And letting them kind of guide you. So, it's a lot of work to get your first users. Go out there and you sell, you find people that that are going to use it and test it and give you real feedback, and then take that feedback to heart. And sometimes the feedback is disheartening. You'll hear somebody say, this doesn't make any sense. I don't like this. And you poured your heart and soul into something. And then when you get feedback like, oh, this sucks, you're like, man, come on. But you just got to suck it up and say, hey, okay, this is real feedback from real users that may use the technology or the the product that I built. Let me go back to the drawing board and see what we can do. So don't be afraid to iterate on what you've built, and really listen to what your customers are going to tell you, because they're your users. They're the ones that will be day in and day out in whatever you've built. So just open your ears. Don't be afraid to listen and change.
Is there anything you will go back and do it differently if you start again?
Yeah, definitely. There's some people that probably came into the company early in the days that maybe shouldn't have been there. I think moving faster. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I would recommend for any entrepreneur starting out is if you get a gut feeling about something, whether it's the product or whether it's the people that you're working with, being able to say, okay, this isn't working or this is working, let's double down on it and moving quicker. I think that's probably the biggest learning if I could go back to my early younger self and say, hey, just take the advice, move faster. Feelings are feelings and they're going to get hurt, which sucks sometimes, but you need to just make sure you're when you're in this mindset of building something, you have to be able to kind of take emotion out of it sometimes and move fast and change how you operate.
What one final question to you, Matthew, and I ask this to all my guests. What one piece of advice that you got that changed your perspective professionally and personally?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me was building my network, right? So there's the adage like your network is your net worth. And I think at first I didn't really focus too much on that. I was like, yeah, we'll build the platform, we'll build the tools, we'll get it out there, and that's how we're gonna do it. But like when it comes to if you need to fundraise, if you need to get your first clients or customers, your network is how you're gonna get that. Your network is how you're going to be able to grow whatever you're doing. So for example, I get emails from people all the time just saying, hey, I'd like to just chat with you about some advice on this or that. Talk to those people. Or, I spend probably 3 evenings a week going to like networking events. And sometimes you're like, I'm tired. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go to the networking event. But I think about, one of the biggest accounts that we have with Keybot, I got because I went to a random networking event. I met somebody who introduced me to another person, then into another person who introduced me into this account. So get out there, continue building, talk to people, understand what people are doing, help people out. Like that's one thing too, is like if you have somebody come to you and say, hey, can I have some advice or can I have some help with this, that, or whatever, and you take the time to listen to them or to do something for them, 2 years down the road, they could come back because they will remember that you gave them something and they're going to help you out in that kind of same way. Or you could just like be able to ask them, hey, I would love to get a connection to this, this VC or this potential customer, and they'll remember you did something for them, and they'll be more willing to do that back for you. So build your network, continue getting out there, meeting people, talking to people, and going to the networking events, no matter how tired or exhausted or crappy it sounds to have to go to these things.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today. It was a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, this is fun. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.